Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. I mean, look, I really do. I get back into doing these lives and being consistent with them. As you can tell, the stream looks a little different. I got shout out my boy Juan, getting me this overlay. You've seen it before, but now you'll see it a lot more often. Change the platform and everything. Once again, uh, been trying to find the one that's right for me. So we'll see how this one goes. Hopefully, the audio is good and everything. I had some issues. Okay, oh that's good. Had somebody tune in to help me out. So yeah, I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you are on Facebook, make sure when you click on the video, you hit that link and give uh, StreamYard, access to your profile. That way, when you comment, I can see who you are. That way, I can address you. So, got a lot to get into today. It's been an interesting. I mean, since the last time I was able to do this, some interesting things have gone on within sports. So I'm gonna get into some of that. Got to talk about the Josh Giddey stuff. I guess there was a bit of a rumor or a report that could maybe shape how you feel about it. Well, we'll talk about that. Talk about some of the outrage that's going on with the coverage of the story. Have some thoughts on that as well. We got the college football playoff final standings this week. Well, not this week, today. Talk about that. I feel like it's very polarizing in terms of the final four, as well as teams 5 and 6. I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. In-season tournament, the knockout stage starts tomorrow. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. Hopefully you all enjoy it. I know just like the play-in tournament, a lot of people are kind of skeptical of it. But just the same way people love Jory, I see you in here. Roll Tide, let them cry. And like I said, I will address that because I have kind of two ways of thinking about it. And who knows? Roll Tide, like you said, maybe you'll agree with me or not, but we're here to have the conversation. Got to talk about a team in the NBA that pulled off something that I didn't know was actually possible, going a whole month without winning a game. Like, if you think about it, that's kind of wild. Because the way the NBA is, you figure you catch somebody on an off night, you steal and win. But no, a certain team in the NBA managed to go a whole month without winning. So we'll talk about that as well. You know what? Let's just go ahead and get into this because I'm sure you're anxious to get this going. So here we go. All right, so Malika Andrews, Josh Giddey, ESPN, John Morant, Des Bryant, a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people talking. I'm sure if you've been on social media, you've seen a lot of people doing videos with their outrage and everything like that. Look, it's. I feel like this situation's a little bit different than Brandon Miller, which he's, getting kind of crucified for. Udoka, Giddey. They're all slightly different. So the Giddey part is, look, he supposedly, allegedly, reportedly, whatever you want to say, may have had a encounter, we'll say, with a woman who was underage. I guess at that point you'd still say a girl. Anyway, Josh Giddey's 21. I can't remember what the report is on how old the girl is. It's relevant, but then not really to what I'm trying to get at here. But if you look at all this, everybody's, kind of made Malika Andrews the bigger story here because the way, she covered Udoka on ESPN, with draft night with Brandon Miller, the way she covered that, you'd almost think Malika Andrews runs ESPN for some reason. So a lot of people are calling out about the lack of coverage for the Giddey thing. Part of that is maybe ESPN's kind of told everybody to calm down. Let's see what the investigation's says, and then we can address it. Even though I see it on ESPN, they've given like little bit updates and then kind of kept it moving, which apparently doesn't. I don't know. I guess it's not good enough for some. So, look, when I look at this story and the kind of the way that I go about all these other stories, it's that with Giddey is kind of a situation where if you jump the gun and go one way with your response, and you find out something that is not true or whatever, you may embarrass yourself with what you say. Because now the report is the relationship. Remember, it was he had a relationship with an underage girl. Now it could have just been a one night encounter and then he left. Two kind of different bullet points to the story, because if you had an actual relationship with the underage girl, that's one thing. That's a serious matter. That's something that goes beyond, the parameters of the NBA court. If all this boils down to is a one night encounter, and from that we don't even know what that means. That can mean, what did he meet up with her, talking to her, realize what was up, and then left? Which at that point, well, what did he do wrong? Or did he, meet up with her, they did whatever, then he found out she was underage, and then got up out of there. So I just feel like the Giddey thing, you can kind of let it play out and not try linking all of these stories together. What's going on, Rod? I see you up in here. 2-10, it's over. Look, I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Those who don't know yet, Patriots fan, Rod's a fellow Patriots fan. We've been watching this season, and look, at this point, you almost got to kind of laugh at it. I don't know. It is what it is at this point. Like I said, we'll talk about that later. So until we get some type of conclusion with the investigation, however long that takes, I don't think Adam Silver is going to necessarily want to do something too quick here. He's gonna let the kind of legal process play out, and then I guess he'll probably do something after that. Another part of this, it's like everybody's all of a sudden tying in Giddey to John Morant, because John Morant, faced discipline from Silver while Giddey is still allowed to play. Once again, two different things. For John Morant was given a second opportunity to kind of fix the behavior. Because remember, he did the thing on Instagram, then he met with Adam Silver, and that was his opportunity to kind of change it, and he would have been fine. But for the fact that he went back and just did the same thing or a similar thing not too long after, that's where the punishment came from Silver. And, a lot of that kind of outrage with John Morant comes from the fact that the Grizzlies look terrible this year without him. So as a Grizzlies fan, the last couple of years have been kind of fun watching Memphis. Now, not that they're unwatchable, but they're now winning a lot of games. And I think Grizzlies fans are coming to realization that the 25-game suspension for Morant might cripple their whole season. But I just don't see the need, and this is where I guess Des Bryant comes in, because he's attacked Malika Andrews over the Josh Giddey stuff. And it just, look, I don't get it. It is what it is. But what we have to realize is stories like Brandon Miller, which, Stephen A. Smith came out and said that Malika Andrews was just doing her job as a journalist, so he defending her. I don't know if that's going to really change the narrative with that part of it, but at least he came out and said that. I think that was good from him. But like looking at this, sports are just different right now, because not too long ago, if you went with your homeboys or whatever talking sports, like sports was seen as just a man's playground. But now you have women not only like talking sports, they're now involved in a lot of these organizations. So points of view when it comes to stories like Giddey or whatever is just a little bit different than maybe some people are used to. So, look, what I say when it comes to either sports, politics, society, whatever, like we can respect different opinions, but let's just have a conversation about it. Where instead we're just having a bunch of people attacking Malika Andrews and ESPN because their coverage isn't sufficient for them. But I mean, look, you can let me know what you think. Like, do you think ESPN's showing favoritism by not covering Giddey the same way, or whatever? However you view it, let me know, and we'll definitely talk about it. Let's go to the next one here. All right, so the college football playoff. Look, going into this past weekend, which, Jory, if you're still in here, I mean, you can go ahead and throw your Roll Tide stuff up there again. But this is the final rankings here. So we got Michigan 1, Washington 2, Alabama 3. Texas 3, Alabama 4. Then to round it out, you got Florida State, Georgia 5 and 6. Now, first thing I would ask is, do you agree with what the committee did here? Because I think the only thing that was really in question was who was going to be 4. Even though I think, to begin with, some people were looking at it as, how does Texas fall in line and everything like that? But I think based off of everything that happened over the weekend, Texas was a lock. Michigan we knew was a lock. Washington, although shaky the last couple of weeks, they almost lost to Washington State. And, they had their rematch with Oregon, which was a pretty good game. But Washington made it into the playoff, and they were a lock as well. So 4, it was the SEC champion Alabama, Georgia, because according to Stephen A. Smith, the fact that Georgia won back-to-back titles, they should be in it no matter what to defend it. And then you had Florida State, who was the team out of the top 4 that was obviously on the shakiest ground because not a lot of people believed in Florida State's season. They looked at it as they were a team that were fraudulent as a top 4 team. But look, they ended up winning the game where Travis got hurt, their quarterback. Then they turned around and won the ACC title game against the Louisville team that was ranked 13th or 14th in the country with their backup quarterback. So like I said, going into the weekend, I thought the doomsday scenario for the committee would be Bama beats Georgia. I think Washington, Oregon, that was kind of set in stone that whoever won that was probably going to get in. Like Florida State beat Louisville, and then Texas wins because they'd have to sit here and have 3, I would say, between, like I said, Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, 3 deserving teams. Which one would they pick? So they ultimately went with Alabama. And look, as Jory said, she agrees with it. She is a Bama fan. How do I put this? Do I agree with it? No. Because I thought what was going to happen was we'd get Michigan, Washington, Texas, Florida State. I did think Texas was going to jump Florida State as the Big 12 champion. But I thought with Florida State winning 2 games without their star quarterback would be enough for them to get in because they're an undefeated team. Bama still had that 1 loss, even though their 1 loss was to the number 3 team in Texas. Florida State was still an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. I just found it odd that you could keep a team like that out to get jumped by a team that was in 8th going into the weekend while Florida State was 4th, even though both teams won. That was the first part of it. The second part was when Florida State was in the top 4 for several weeks, the quarterback goes down, they move them out to 5, which I was like, okay, they're clearly knocking him for the injury. But then they won and were put back up into 4th. So then at that point, it's like they're saying the injury doesn't matter. It's the fact that they kept winning. So now they go on and win the ACC title, but now committee guys are coming up saying, oh, well, we looked at the injury to the quarterback and whatever, they're a different team and everything like that. If that was the case, when you put them at 5, you should have just left them at 5. Then we might not be having this conversation. But the fact that they went 5-4 back to 5, I got a problem with that. And this isn't even like a slight to Alabama, because yes, I agree with the committee members that Alabama from weeks 1, 2, and 3, when they were finding themselves playing musical chairs at quarterback, it's a much different team than right now. The way they played against Georgia, you got to give them all the credit in the world. They played great. You know, Georgia was the number 1 team in the country. Although I would say, like, looking at the past 3 seasons with Georgia, this was their weakest team of the 3. But they were still undefeated. And as a back-to-back champ, you kind of had to keep them at 1. But yeah, I felt like Georgia was right for the picking to lose the game because they were playing kind of tightrope of some of these games over the course of the season. Alabama finally was able to beat them. But still does not make it right that they jumped over Florida State. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't get it. I just don't see the justification for it. I was listening all day with Herb Street and guys like that trying to tell me, well, that the committee made the right decision or whatever. I still can't side with them. All right, so George says strength of schedule. Yes, but I do think Alabama, yes, cleared Florida State in strength of schedule, but there was like strength of, what was it, the SOR ranking was that strength of strength of something that Florida State was right there with Alabama. Bama has beat more top 25 talent than Florida State. That also kind of goes to how they like to pump up SEC teams in the rankings as well. Because a lot of teams that mysteriously make the top 10 play Georgia and Alabama, lose, and then by the end of the season aren't in the top 25. But, we got to take it as where they were when the game was played. Sure, I'll give them that. Like I said, I'm not hating on Bama here because, like I said, they're a good team. It's just if you had Florida State move up to 4 going into the conference title and then they win it, I just don't see why you knock them back just to make room for Alabama. That's what this looks like. They did that to just make room to get Alabama in. And the more I listen to some of these analysts talk, it's like, how dare we have a college football playoff and not the mighty SEC be represented? Because a lot of college football fans built up college football as SEC and everybody else. It's taken a while, but Big Ten's kind of up on that level as well. So if you had a Final Four of Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Florida State, you would hear every Bama fan, Georgia fan, crying about how could they keep us out? We're the toughest conference in the country. But are they, though? I'll give it to you. The SEC is very top-heavy. Alabama and Georgia are clearly 2 of the best programs in the country. But after that, what do you really have? I mean, LSU that sometimes wants to play with the big boys and other times is a pretender. Texas A&M, who I thought Jimbo Fisher was supposed to make them a perennial power. How'd that work out for him? Florida, I honestly can't remember the last time Florida gave Georgia any competition in the SEC East. Ole Miss is always middle of the road. Mississippi State hasn't been relevant since probably Dak Prescott was there. Like, what are we talking about here? George says USF has a higher record than half of the opponents that Florida State has played. I think USF finished the season 6-6. I think. Don't quote me on that. But so what I think the committee was kind of dancing around was they penalized Florida State for TCU last season, even though they don't want to say that because they don't want to make it seem like that's what they did here. Because remember, there's a lot of talk about TCU going into the playoff. I felt like they deserved it. But when TCU got in there and then got blown out the first game, I think the committee was worried the same thing was going to happen with Florida State this season. They put them in. You put up Florida State against Michigan, and Michigan runs over them. And then the committee has to listen to Bama fans who'd be sitting at home because they did it the same thing last year. When TCU got beat, here came the Bama fans saying, "Oh, we would have done better in that situation." So I think that's what they didn't want to happen with Florida State. Actually, I think that's kind of the main reason. But like I said, they don't want to talk about that. They just want to say Bama's a much better team, which I agree with. Not saying they're not. And Florida State, because of the injury, is different. But, it is what it is. Let me know, looking at the top four, who do you think has the best chance to win it all? To be honest with you, when I look at this, I will say Michigan, Alabama is intriguing. Michigan has a really good defense. Offensively, they kind of play smash mouth football. I think Michigan, Alabama is going to be a very physical game, so it will be entertaining to watch. Washington, Texas could be a shootout. Now, before the season, I think on Big Three, which if you need to check me out Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, I'm going to run Sports Empire Network. But there was a Tuesday night, I believe, before the season started, where I think my team I picked to possibly win it all was Texas. And that's kind of off of what they played like last year. And if they had the quarterback play, I thought they were going to be a really good team. I was also worried that Texas might not have gotten in, but they won the Big 12. They got in as a 3 seed. I think if Texas can get past Washington, look out. I also believe that, if Alabama knocks off Michigan, they have a very good chance to do it as well, which, for some who may view me as a Bama hater, could be my worst case that Alabama sneaks in, ends up winning it all, and then Bama fans will sit there and say, "Look, told you that they deserve to be in it." We'll see. We got a few weeks until these games get kicked off, but let's go on to what the playoffs could have been, though. I think this is interesting as well. So as you remember, next season we go to the 12-team playoff. Thank you. I don't know why college football loves to slow play these innovative things like being more inclusive with your playoff. But these are some matchups we could have had. So top four, obviously, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama. Jory says I will be insufferable. If they win it all, it'll be justified. But, the 8-9 matchup, we would have had Oregon, Missouri. So another SEC team there. Missouri, Oregon was a team who got a second chance at Washington to cement their stamp in the top four. They fell short once again and dropped to 8. The 7-10 matchup, you would have gotten Ohio State, Penn State, rematch from the Big Ten regular season. That would have been an interesting game. 6-11, you get Georgia, Ole Miss. SEC teams going at it again. So even with the 12-team playoff, it's still a lot of SEC squads. But that's not even a problem for me. It's the 5-12 matchup. Because remember, the 12-team playoff, the highest rated group of 5 team that wins their conference gets in automatically. And in this case, it'd be Liberty as a 12 seed going up against Florida State. So, look, the main reason I'm big into the 12-team playoff is giving little guys a shot at it. Who knows? Liberty could upset Florida State, and now we got ourselves a little bit of a March Madness story. Like I said this before and several times. When I look at college sports, either college basketball, college football, college basketball fans love a good upset. it seems like college football fans hate upsets. Don't know why, especially in the playoff setting, because they for some reason they feel like it waters down the regular season or makes the regular season pointless or whatever their reasoning is. I don't know, but I'm all for it. Be honest with you, I wouldn't even mind if they went. I mean, I should have found a graphic if somebody took the time to kind of lay it out like the FCS, where they just do a 32 team playoff. Somehow they make it work. They come with a champion at the end. Nobody says anything about it. Obviously, if you get on this level, people would be crying about teams 30 being some bum team that's just going to get run off the field. Once again, don't care. Because if you can tell me in college basketball, a George Mason team who's the first four team gets on a roll, makes a Final Four, I would love to see something like that every once in a while in college football. Maybe we'll get there in 60 years, but, who knows. And this is also something else that I talked about as well. Seeing the fact that a lot of these bowl games that aren't tied into the playoff, nobody cares about it anymore. If you were to expand to like 32 teams, you would then keep your bowl system, but the bowl games themselves would just be playoff games. Who wouldn't watch them all then? I don't know. College football. Seems like you make a lot of money doing that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody actually come with that plan. Don't know why. Get me on the committee. I'll fix college football. I mean, college football is still pretty good. Even though it seems like I'm kind of hating on it right now. But, yeah. So this is what a 12-team playoff would have looked like. I mean, give me your thoughts on, would you not have enjoyed this? Like I said, really good matchups. I mean, even look at the top four teams. You could possibly have Georgia, Texas. Sign me up. Ohio State, Washington. Sign me up. Oregon, Michigan. Who wouldn't watch? Florida State, Alabama. That'd be interesting. Because then you're looking at Florida State losing their automatic, I guess, top four seed and then going up against the team that took it from them. Yeah, so let me know what you think about the 12-team playoff next season. Do you think 12 is good enough? Would you love to see an FCS level 32 teams? Jory says that would extend the season, though. Are you saying what? The 32 team thing? Yeah, I mean, I know it's not going to happen. I was just saying that the FCS does it, and I don't hear much complaining about it. They crown a champion, and it seems to work. I was just saying, like, look, even with the bowl season about to get underway, the only ones you really pay attention to are the ones tied into the playoff. And if your school's not in the playoff, you might watch the bowl game you're in, depending on who the opponent is. It's going to be the same thing when they go to 12. The bowl game's tied to the 12 teams. Those are the games that will get the highest rating. And the other ones, who will watch them? But that's what it is. Like I said, I wouldn't have put Alabama 4. But they are playing much better now. And my pick is Texas to win it all. So you let me know who you think gets the title this year. I mean, Jory, I know who you are picking, which is fine. Hold on a second. You're definitely a hater. I'm actually not a hater, though. Okay, before we move on, here's where I was thinking. I thought that because of Bama struggling so much out of the gate, they never could really gain traction in the rankings, right? It seemed like week after week they were winning and they were kind of sticking in that 8 to 10 area. So when they went into the game last night, the scenario I put in my head was that Bama could beat Georgia. I went into that game last night knowing Bama was the team to knock off Georgia. But I thought for Bama to move all the way from 8 to 4, I thought they would need. Well, Oregon, Washington, I think was out of the conversation because whoever won that gets in. But I thought that Florida State was the key to the door for them to get in because I know you enjoy it. It's all good. It's all good. But I just thought, look, Florida State was kind of on borrowed time, seemingly. And they didn't play great against Louisville. But they did enough. And I feel like that's good enough. That's just me. What's going on, Jordan, man? But yeah. Either way, look, I've hated the 14 playoff anyway. I'm just glad it's gone. I was just rooting for chaos the last time with the 14 playoff. Got a little bit of it. I wanted more. I actually don't even know how we would have gotten more, but in time ran out. Yeah. But yeah, 12-team playoff next year. I'm here for it. Thank you. But yeah, so Jordan, I was just showing this because this is what the 12-team playoff would have looked like with the rankings this year. And to be honest with you, I would be down to watch all of these games. It would be a lot of fun. All right. Let's keep it moving. So like I said, a team in the NBA managed to go a full month and not win a game, and that team was the Detroit Pistons. You know the Detroit Pistons. The last 5-6 years, somebody on NBA TV before the season will tell you, look out for those Detroit Pistons, and they end up finishing last in the East every year. It's not even like they had a crazy November schedule. I put the games up there. Portland's got their own problems. They couldn't beat them. New Orleans, okay, tough. Phoenix, tough. Golden State, tough. This is when Golden State was playing better. Milwaukee, tough. Philadelphia, tough. Chicago's not a world beater. They lost to them. Yeah, go ahead, Jory. Keep putting your Bama stuff in there. It's all good. It's all good. Like I said, I'm not a hater. Look, I root for BC. BC can't sniff a playoff, okay? 12-team playoff, they still have no chance. But Chicago, that's a game they could have won. Chicago's not a great team. Atlanta, I wouldn't have picked Detroit against Atlanta. You got Cleveland. Toronto, look, Toronto's up and down. They got blown out by them. Denver, tough. The Pacers, tough. Washington's not a great team. And then Lakers, Knicks, Cavs. So it's a tough month based off of how bad Detroit is. There's no way they should have gone through this without winning. And that Cleveland game was actually in December. So they've gotten off to the same losing start in December. If they go through December and they don't win a game, Detroit fans, at that point, I don't know what you do. You boycott, put bags over your head. You got to do something at that point. But I just don't get it with Detroit. Cade Cunningham, everybody says is a great young player. Jaden Ivey, for some reason, doesn't even play anymore. He barely plays. Now, I wasn't necessarily sold on Jaden Ivey at Purdue, but based on how things are going, how is he not playing a lot? They have Killian Hayes, who, I think a couple of lives ago, I talked about some players that I just don't like watching. Killian Hayes is one of those players. Not my kind of player. They got Marvin Bagley. I think there's another guy who doesn't really play anymore. They got They have Amin Thompson because Sora is the one in Houston. Hopefully I didn't get those backwards. But like they have a lot of young talent that seems like they should be playing better. And I know what you're saying. Young players take time. Young teams take time to gel. Orlando's got a squad with a lot of young players, and they figured out something. They're competitive this year. So what's going on down in Detroit? They made the coaching change. Monty Williams is there. I'm a Monty Williams guy, but this is not looking good for you. And I think Monty Williams is the highest paid coach in the league. Something I didn't know not too long ago because I don't really keep up with coaches' contracts, but the fact that he's the highest paid coach with his squad like this, that's troubling. And now you got to wonder, let's see, Jory says they've never been able to develop players. I mean, it's obviously seeming like that's what the problem is, yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think the Celtics have played them yet. Because at least when the Celtics play them, it'll be a chance for me to like really get to see what they're about. I've seen them kind of in passing for a couple of games and not impressed by them. But the once great Pistons franchise is now, I guess this is rock bottom. Might have to keep a watch on when's the next time Detroit actually wins a game. That might be a fun game to play. Actually, let's pull up the schedule and let's see what's going on with the Pistons. Because I can't see my guy, Monty Williams, going down like this. Let's see. All right, here we go. Schedule. So they have the Grizzlies on Wednesday. You give them a chance in that one. That'll probably be a game where the Grizzlies drop like 150 on them and look like the best they've ever looked. Then they got the Magic after that. Good luck. Pacers after that. Good luck. Sixers back-to-back. Good luck. Oh, this is not looking good. Bucks after that. Hawks. Jazz. Maybe the Jazz. That's December 21st. That might legitimately be the next time. Well, actually, if they don't win against the Grizzlies on the 6th, it could be until the 21st before they have another game they might be able to win. Then they go back-to-back with the Nets around Christmas. Merry Christmas if you're still losing by then. Then they got the Celtics December 28th, Raptors December 30th. So this month you give them a shot against the Jazz. Is that it? And the Grizzlies. Yikes. Then looking at January, it's like they got the Rockets. No, they're not winning. I mean, I wouldn't give them that one. They got the Jazz again. There's an opportunity. Warriors. Warriors are a bit of a mess, but they're not down that bad. Nuggets, Kings, Spurs, January 10th. Maybe give them a shot there. Like, if we get to January 10th and they've only won like a game or two in that stretch, how do you address a young locker room like that at that point? So, like I said, we will definitely be keeping up with the Pistons, who have lost 17 straight games right now. I don't think it's the longest one, because I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like the Celtics had one really bad year. I feel like they lost more games than that. Don't know that off the top of my head, but I feel like the Celtics had a tough season, kind of like what Detroit's going through right now. But like I said, you let me know the next time you think Detroit has a chance to win the game. Could they go the whole season and not win another game? That would be fascinating if they pulled that off. Then again, they might upset one of the big boys, because that can't happen in the NBA. It just hasn't happened for Detroit. All right. The in-season tournament. Once again, if you tuned in, appreciate that. As you can see with the overlay here, have all my socials there. Make sure you follow me on them. Like TikTok, you'll get a lot of my NFL picks and everything like that. But everywhere else, you'll get the episodes and everything. The Discord link that's on here is being updated because I don't think that one's working, but it'll be fixed for the next one. So looking at the in-season tournament, look, I've said several times I'm a big fan of it. You let me know how you feel about it. But we got through the group stage. We're into the knockout round. And some of these matchups are interesting as well. So looking at the final 8 teams, you got the big boys in the Lakers and Celtics. Big brands, everybody knows them, star power. So that's good because that shows veteran teams took the in-season tournament seriously. You have young, kind of up-and-coming teams. The Kings, the Pacers, the Pelicans, if you want to throw them in that group. So that shows young teams learning how to win, taking this seriously, trying to get that NBA Cup. You have teams with a lot of names, kind of like the Lakers and Celtics, maybe not as big a brand, but you have the Suns with all the moves they made this offseason. The Bucks, they pair Lillard with Giannis, star power there. And then you have the Knicks. I'm not really sure what category you kind of put the Knicks in. Well, at least with the Knicks, get to see some more Jalen Brunson. If you're like me, you get to suffer through watching Julius Randle. I know it's a little bit whatever. I think he's been playing better a little recently, but I still don't like Julius Randle on the Knicks. So look, like I said, interesting matchups here. The Bucks, we can see if Lillard and Giannis can carry them through because they still have some issues with Middleton, kind of athleticism as a whole on their team. Now, the Knicks aren't the most athletic team, but the Knicks are completely healthy. They could pose some problems for the Bucks. Pacers, Celtics. I got to talk about the Celtics here for a second. The Pacers know how to score. They don't defend, but they can score. And with the Celtics, we'll have to see if they have an off shooting night. Can they keep up with Indiana? But if they're shooting well and their defense is playing well, can they hold Indiana to like a season low? So I think look, I'm a big Halliburton fan, so I definitely will be watching that game for the Pacers. Kings are a team I love in the West. Like the Beam. De'Aaron Fox has always been a player I've liked. I like he and Sabonis, what they got going on. The Pelicans. Will Zion be available? But you got Brandon Ingram, another guy I like. CJ McCollum. I think McCollum just came back from injury, I believe. Now, Lakers Suns might be the most publicized matchup of these 4 because you get LeBron versus KD. And look, you talk enough basketball, KD fans, LeBron fans, they got a little beef maybe. Outside of like a Lakers-Warriors matchup, that might be the best alternative, Lakers-Suns. So I guess for my predictions, I'll go Lakers over the Suns. Give me Kings over the Pelicans. I kind of want to go crazy in the East. I'm going to go Knicks over the Bucks. Give me Celtics over the Pacers. Celtics-Pacers might be the most entertaining one. Maybe. But I'll take the Celtics in that one. Then semifinals, I would take Lakers over the Kings. And then I'll take Celtics over the Knicks. I think we're staring at a Celtics-Lakers NBA Cup championship. Which, look, Adam Silver will sit back in his chair and would love every moment of that game. I'm always going to take my Celtics. But, yeah, I think for the first season, been a success. Silver's already talked about there could be tweaks for season 2. I think ultimately once we get the 2 expansion teams, I think the in-season tournament will be kind of perfect at that point because then you're just taking group winners and you don't have to worry about wild cards and all that stuff. Jory put Lakers once again. Jory is a Lakers fan. So I would want you to root for your team. So if we get Lakers Celtics, I'll say the team that could possibly stop the Lakers from getting there might be the Kings. And for the Celtics, I guess obviously the Bucks get past the Knicks. The Bucks might pose the biggest problem. Although I'm not looking past Indiana. I love what Indiana has going on. It's just the fact that they play zero defense worries me against the Celtics team that's pretty good offensively, pretty good defensively. But yeah, let me know who you think you're going to win, who you think will win the inaugural NBA Cup, and are you a fan of the NBA in-season tournament? And I think that might be all I got for you. Yeah. I thought I had another one, but I did forget when I was talking about the college football stuff that. Actually, let me go back to it. Even though it's not really related to the playoff, but looking at where Jory says is exciting, I agree. But looking at college football and the landscape of it, Pac-12's dead. Well, it's on life support. The only two teams left are Oregon State and Washington State. Facebook user. All right, so on Facebook, because it says Facebook user, make sure in the description there's a link. Click on that, get StreamYard access so I can see who you are. Because it said UT. I'm picking Texas to win it all as well. I think they might be the best team in the playoff. Hold on a second. Is there a message here? Yeah, so whoever the Facebook user is, hit the link so I can see who you are. Joyce, I think not. But yeah, so like I was saying, the Pac-12 is down to the Pac-2, and I forgot to mention this when I was talking about college football. Yesterday, basically, those two teams have like a handshake agreement with the Mountain West to kind of help fill out their schedule. They'll play a lot of Mountain West teams, which I feel like that's probably the best case scenario for Oregon State and Washington State, because unfortunately, they're not as valuable as Oregon and Washington, so they couldn't be paired up with those two teams who both left for the Big Ten, I believe. And the Big Ten didn't want Oregon State and Washington State. They're kind of left in limbo. Now they're joining forces with the Mountain West. I don't think that makes the Mountain West a Power 5 conference, of course, because they're not, I guess, officially members of it. It's kind of crazy. But another thing with the 12-team playoff next season, remember we're going to get the is it 5+7 model? So you're going to have your Power 4 teams. Power 4 conference champions will automatically get in. The group of 5 conference champion that's highest ranked will be the 5th team in. And then you get 7 wildcard teams, basically. Which all 7 of those will be big name schools. But at least that number 5 will be a smaller school. So that was the last thing I wanted to add about that. But yeah, like I said, that's all I got for you. Appreciate all of you for tuning in. Unless if you're watching and you want to throw a question out, I got a few minutes to entertain. But I thought this was fun. Like I said, get used to this kind of new layout for the streams. I was actually just talking to. That's why I said hold on a second, because I got a message from the guy Juan, who I was telling you, who made this layout for me. Kind of working on something else for me. So by the next stream, the layout might be a little bit different, but you're still going to get the overlay with those socials and everything. It's just much easier for me to just do it this way, so you can kind of see where to find me. And the Discord link will be fixed on the new overlay. Oh, there we go. Jory, thanks for reminding me, because Rod was in here earlier. What's wrong with the Pats? So, how much time you got? But, okay, so if I'm Robert Kraft, season ends, let's say they go 2-15. That means 5 more weeks of losing. But if you're 2-15, you're looking at what, first, second pick. I feel like the first thing Robert Kraft does, pull Bill Belichick into his office and goes, "Look, you've been here for a while. I get it. Are you committed to the rebuild?" If Bill Belichick says yes, the second thing I say to him is, then look, this is what we're going to do going forward. You can continue coaching the team, but I'm going to go ahead and bring in a GM to take that off your plate. I mean, it was cool years ago, Belichick doing both jobs, and not saying he's terrible at the GM job, but I just think the way the NFL is right now, it's tough to ask a guy to do both jobs. There's just so much involved. So get a GM in here. If Belichick wants to coach, fine. If Belichick says, no, I want to be the GM, I want to coach, or I'm gone, then they might have to mutually part ways. That's the first thing. I wouldn't mind if Belichick's back, but if he does move on, it's been 20 plus years, great years. I'm not going to hate him out the door or anything like that. 2, the quarterback position obviously is the next thing you got to figure out. They basically showed today, starting Bailey Zappi, that Mac Jones is probably done in New England. It is what it is. You know, he had a good rookie season, but since then, because of circumstances out of his control, plus I think he's lost some confidence in himself. I just don't think the Patriots, New England, all that, I don't think that's the best for him. I feel like he's got to go somewhere. He might be a backup for a little bit until he gets an opportunity, you know, to spot start or something because of injury. And if he can play really well, he becomes a starter in this league again. If not, he might just be a career backup at this point. Not going to knock him. Not a bad way to live your life. Get paid really well. Show up every once in a while, play. But, yeah, the quarterback position has to change after this year. I'm assuming it's not Bailey Zappi either. You know, Malik Cunningham is intriguing, but I kind of think New England might really be invested in trying to convert him into a wide receiver, maybe like a Taysom Hill type, although he's not as big as Taysom Hill, but somebody who can run some stuff, quarterback, run wide receiver. I think that's what Malik Cunningham's lot in life with the Patriots would be. So if they're 2-15, top pick, or they go like 3-14, something like that, they have like a top 5 pick. I don't know if you stay there and just take the best player available, because if you're at 5 or something like that, you're not going to get Caleb Williams. To be honest with you, I'm okay with that. You probably don't get Drake May. Honest with you, I'm okay with that. The quarterback I would love to see the Patriots get, Jaden Daniels. Something about him, you know, when he was at Arizona State, I was kind of like on him, but I've liked what I've seen from him at LSU. So that's what I would go with. I would take Jaden Daniels, start it over, because Belichick said like 5 weeks ago, probably need to hit the reset button. You bring in Jaden Daniels, that starts the reset. Free agency, you got to fix the offensive line and sign at least one dynamic wide receiver. You just got to do it. You know, the running back position, I like Stevenson. I can't remember Zeke Elliott's contract situation. It's probably just a 1-year deal. But running backs, you can find those guys in free agency. I'm not really worried about that. But sign another wide receiver to kind of pair with Demario Douglas, who I think can be a player in this league. Defense is fine. That's why I'm like, if Belichick wanted to stay, his defense is still really good, so he hasn't lost anything there. Hold on. It says Facebook user again. Like I said, if you're on Facebook, hit the link in the description and give access from StreamYard so I can see who you are. So hold on. Let me pull up the stream real quickly to see who that is. I don't want to address you as Facebook user, obviously. Let's see. Oh, Anthony Price, what's going on? Okay, so UT was 1. I was just shouting you out, Juan, for making the overlay. New England style quarterback is J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. I'm actually not mad at that. I'd be okay with McCarthy. I think if you get McCarthy, you don't have to use a first round pick to get him. So if they use their first round pick somehow were to get like Marvin Harrison, which would probably have to have a top 2 pick in order to get him, and then you paired him with a J.J. McCarthy in, I don't know. Obviously, combine and everything might shake things out differently, but if you get McCarthy in like the 3rd round possibly, I wouldn't be mad at that. Or you want to get like some, I don't know, whoever the best player is at whatever position they are in the top 5, you take that guy. If you get McCarthy in like the 3rd round, thumbs up from me. But I just think these past 2 years, Robert Kraft is going to demand some serious change. And so whether or not Belichick's okay with that. If he is, he's back. If not, they probably move on from him. I know Kraft loves Gerard Mayo, who's already in the organization. I think is like a associate defensive coordinator, linebacker coach type of guy. And we kind of move on from there. Because look, as a Patriots fan, has this season been tough? Yes, but it's okay. A lot of organizations go through years like this. It's not the end of the world. And plus, when you're feeling down on the team, just think about those 20-plus years of dominance, and you feel okay. Because as I always say, go talk to a Lions fan about struggling. Like, they witnessed heartbreak and everything since Barry Sanders retired early, Calvin Johnson retired early, long stretches without playoff wins. Like, go talk to a fan of that team and say, oh, we have it so bad in New England. Like, come on now. Yeah, that's how I would fix the Pats. Good question, Jory, and Rod brought it up earlier, so thanks for reminding me. But yeah, come up on the hour mark. If somebody else got another question, you could definitely go with that. If not, I will get on out of here. But I will say, this was a lot of fun. If you're tuning in, like I said, the socials are there for you. So if you use any of those apps or anything like that, be sure to give your boy a follow. Especially do that here on Facebook as well. Or YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Look, I can't promise you I'll give you a live every day, but I'm trying to be more consistent with it. So yeah, that's all I can do. I'll try. I will say, if you do follow me over on Twitch, you will get some gaming streams from me as well. Do some Madden, EAFC, plus some other games I'm going to try to bring to that channel as well. So if that kind of content interests you, make sure you follow me over on Twitch as well. All right. Look, like I said, there's a lot I wanted to talk about, and you give me your thoughts on all of them. The ESPN Giddey stuff, in-season tournament, the college football playoff, if they got it right. Once again, I will say, I guess just to recap them all, the Malika Andrews stuff with ESPN, unwarranted. Got to realize more women pay attention to sports. So obviously, some women who are fans of sports will be more sensitive to some of these topics with these players and kind of dealing with women than probably before. You just have to be respectful of that. College football playoff, I would not have put Alabama at 4. I would have kept Florida State there, but Alabama is playing much better, so I'm not like dreading it or not going to boycott the playoff or anything. I will still watch. This is what the 12-team playoff would have looked like. I can't wait for that next year and until like January 20th, which is wild to me. But it's possible. I ran through their schedule. It's legitimately possible. But yeah, so with that, I'm going to go on and get out of here. Appreciate all of you for tuning in. I really do. Make sure hit the notification and all that so you know when I go live. Hopefully I'll probably see you like Tuesday or so. We can recap the NFL week and everything and kind of get you set up for, I guess, the first round of the knockout games, see how those go. So midweek, I'll try to do an episode, and then end of the week, I'll try to do it. At least That way I could give you at least 2 a week, which I think will be fine to kind of cover everything. So as I always say, when I'm getting out of here, be safe out there. God bless, and I'll catch you on the next stream. All right, I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night and weekend. I'm gone.